Hello, everybody. My name's Martin Douglas. I am the owner and host of the Rangers Rabble Podcast. On last night's reaction, a guest made a discriminatory comment, an unacceptable comment, and a comment that should not be made in society, let alone a podcast. I wholeheartedly and unreservedly apologise. It is not. Acceptable on the rabble. It's not acceptable anywhere. It is not something I want to hear on here. And it really affected me when he said it. I was in a bit of shock when I first heard it. And the reaction has been deleted off of all socials. It has been deleted off of YouTube. And it is absolutely not something that I accept, that anybody should have to tune in and listen and hear. It is not acceptable to anybody. The rabble has been going now for nearly 5 years, and we have had our slip-ups in the past. Nothing obviously as serious as this, and we have got through it. I sincerely hope that regular viewers and new viewers to the show continue to watch and enjoy the show, and to anybody and everybody who was offended by last night's show, I sincerely do apologise. It's not something that we accept here on the Rabble. The guest will never return and will never be on another show. Not that that is any sort of compensation for people who were offended. It's not something that you switch on a show and expect to hear, and it is not something that you switch on a show and should hear. It is absolutely categorically unacceptable. And again, my deepest apologies to everybody. We are hopefully going to be able to move past this, continue to bring the content that we bring, continue to try and build the community that we have built. And I have spoke to every guest who will be appearing on the show, and I have made sure everybody understands everything and understands what the Rabble stands for, understands what I stand for. And that is not something that I ever expect to hear again on this show. It was completely unacceptable. And again, to everybody who watched the show, to everybody who has no doubt seen the clips, I absolutely apologise. And it was wrong, and it will not happen again. I wanted to put this quick message out before we started the show again. I know it doesn't change what was said. I know it can't change what was said. But yeah, I'm deeply sorry about what was said. It was unacceptable, and it will not happen again. So yes, hello everybody, welcome along to the Afternoon Rabble here on the Rangers Rabble Podcast. We have to unfortunately look back at that game last night, and here to do that with me is William Irwin. William, how are you?
Pretty good, other than all the bites I've got in my leg after having my shots on the other night. Feeling a bit, that itchy way you get after a day or two, but it seems to be getting a wee bit better, thankfully. But I was like scratching my legs off yesterday because of all the bites I had in my leg. It's the last time I wear shorts. It was like the vest incident, which I know everybody sort of really enjoyed, right? But I'm not wearing shorts again for the rest of the summer holidays for the sheer fear that I'm going to get bit about 2 million times again.
I think you need to learn that you're too old to wear shorts now, Willie.
See, but it was like 25 degrees outside, right? And I thought I can't go out with like trousers on because I thought it was too much. So I threw on the shorts, and then the next day I had massive regrets when I woke up and seen like all the spots all over my legs where I'd obviously been bitten by I don't know how many things. But yeah, it's not a pretty sight, it has to be honest. The Savlon cream has been out.
Listen, I remember the first time I seen you in shorts, and I've still got massive regrets.
To be honest, it's special occasions only. It's a bit like the vest thing. It's special occasions only.
Right, I've got to ask you, mate, because I know that you were at the game last night. Before we get into the game, before we get into the players, before we get into the formations, before we get into all that, what was it like being in the crowd last night?
Well, like where I sit in the enclosure, to be honest, most of the guys that are kind of close to me in terms of the kind of 3, 4, 5 rows or whatever, it's just the norm. Like I wouldn't say there was any of those guys were like booing or shouting at anybody. I mean, I dare say in other parts of the stadium that's awfully different, but obviously where I am in the enclosure, where I've now sat for a number of years next to my brother and obviously a lot of the guys that you get to know through the years. No, I wouldn't say that it was like that in amongst us. Obviously, you could hear it within the stadium, but certainly where I was, no. And that's not really me. I know people are going about the whole happy clappers thing and all that, but I've never been one that actually boos players. To be honest, that was maybe how I was brought up and the people you went to the games with and stuff like that. But it was never something that I have personally done over the years. So yeah, but look, at the end of the day, as I've said to other people today, kind of in work and on WhatsApp and whatever, just chatting to people, I was like, I have no issue with people doing it because at the end of the day, people paid their money last night, whatever it was, £36. I'm sure it's maybe more for people in hospitality and stuff like that, clearly. But yeah, look, if you're not happy with that, then you absolutely have the right to, to have a pop, to say how you want to feel. Obviously, you can boo people. I mean, that's the nature of football. I mean, I've been at other games watching Rangers where I've saw opposition fans boo and unfurl banners, and it's the nature of football. When you go for as many years as I've been going, that you see things and you hear people booing. And I mean, I've seen Rangers teams get booed when they've been winning league titles like over the course of a season. So I think when you've seen that, nothing really ever compares to some of the things now. I mean, in my opinion, now it's a society thing now, isn't it? Everybody's very kind of quick to jump on things, and there's very little patience, for anything new out there. So that's just how it is. But yeah, look, there's no doubt that last night wasn't good enough. I thought the first 20 minutes it was really slow. You make individual errors. You mean the first goals? I mean, I actually don't know if you would even see that in the public park. If I'm honest,
honestly, take me to that. Take me to that first goal, right? I mean, right? Is that just simply down to Giga just not paying attention? Is it down to a miscommunication with Butland? Is there any way that Sutter's involved? Is it the tactics that Russell Martin set out and what he's asking his defenders to do? How does that goal in a Champions League playoff come about?
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, at the game, you've got to think it's a total lack of communication because it's not a difficult ball to deal with in the overall scheme of things. Even if Giga reacts a split second late, he should still be able to get back and just boot the ball into the stand.
Mm-hmm.
Or if Jack Butler's quick enough to react to it, boot the ball 50 yards up the pitch. So, to me, it's not just like one mistake, it's 2 or 3 mistakes that's caused that. And I think it's most of the guys around about us, like, you can't criticise the manager for like, an individual error like that, or a team error. Because see, at the end of the day, see when your goalkeeper and your 2 centre-halves are there, the communication should be constant throughout the 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. So for that to happen so early, and the silly thing is, I actually thought we started quite positively. I actually thought that we actually, sort of started in the front foot. And then the first time they really had the ball up the pitch, the ball was in the back of the net. Yeah. And then, I don't know how you'd word it. I mean, like, I've seen shell shock before in Rangers teams that have played in Europe and stuff like that. Like, I've seen it happen quite quickly against, some very, very good teams over the years. But it felt like for the next 20 minutes after that, we just completely were out of sync. Like, nothing we could do was right. Our passing was poor. Our touch was poor. Nobody really wanted to take control of the game. And then before you know it, you've lost a second goal. And then you look up at the screens and it's 7 minutes. And I would say that it's hard to actually know how you feel at that point because obviously you get into the game with that excitement and that buzz for the game. It's a big game. It's a Champions League playoff game. You're, that and another leg away from potentially.
And also, you actually start to convince yourself before the game because of how well we've done in Europe in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Although, albeit, Willie, there wasn't a single Rangers fan last night who was saying, "Oh, that's going to be an easy game. We're going to beat Bruges." Most Rangers fans were saying, "No, look, this is going to be really difficult. They're a very good team." The result, either way, I don't think would have surprised many people. Like, if we had won that game last night, I don't know, 2-0 or 2-1, we'd have came away from Ibrox going, not surprised. Really not surprised. Had it been 2-1, 3-1 the other way, we'd probably come away and go, they were just a better team, right? But it was the manner of it, Willie. That first 20 minutes, when was the last time you've seen a worse opening 20 minutes at Ibrox?
I probably have, but it's been a while. I mean, like, I'm old enough to remember us getting knocked out of Europe off of some really, really poor teams. Even under Walter Smith, like getting knocked out with like a Lithuanian team. Obviously, we've been knocked out off of like Malmo. We've been beat with some really poor teams, even in like sort of the UEFA Cup and stuff like that in bygone years, I would have to be honest. So yeah, there probably has been worse games. There probably has been worse periods within games. But I think when you get in with the mindset that in the last, what would you say, 6 years, maybe 7 years or so, we've been reasonably good in Europe. We've shown a certain degree of we're good enough to get through ties. I mean, I know they're a good team, Bruges, like it doesn't take away from the fact that we lost some poor goals, but they are a good team. Yeah. Yes, they've lost some good players this summer, but they've also added some really good players as well to that squad. And even, as I was saying to my brother last night, that when you look at what they were bringing off the bench last night, they're bringing on like full internationals straight off the bench, which is a big thing at that level, especially guys that are of a good standard. So for me, it was like the first 7 minutes was just unacceptable, regardless of how else you look at the rest of the game. And then like you have that wee spell for 10 or 15 minutes where yet again I think the manager got it spot on after the game. We just didn't seem to look as though we knew what we were doing. Obviously Danilo's got to do better at the third goal. It felt kind of half-hearted in terms of the challenge that he put in. I mean, it's a hell of a strike from the guy. I mean, he couldn't have caught it any more purer than he did. And also where I am in the enclosure, you just seen it zinging into the corner, and at that point you don't really know what to think, if I'm honest. Like you almost shut off at that moment. And then for the rest of that half, I think the mindset for the players potentially is let's just not lose any more goals, which obviously we managed to. And at half time, like we're kind of sitting chatting in the stand, obviously thinking like, how do you get back from this? In reality is you don't. What you need to do is get a bit of respect back in the second half. Show a bit of fight, show a bit of courage, get on the ball, look to create. I've got to give a lot of plaudits to Jayden Magoma. I thought he was excellent last night to rock in the door on Sunday evening. Probably done a couple of training sessions at most. I thought he was fantastic.
See on that, right? I don't know if you've seen the group chat this morning that Lewis put in. There was a clip that Magoma's actually shouting at Suter to get into position. That's a 19-year-old boy who's never played in this team before. Never. First time putting his feet on the grass at Ibrox, and he's telling the captain what to do. If that doesn't tell you where we are, and if that doesn't actually say, this boy might actually be good for us this season, but if that doesn't tell you what a state we're in, nothing will.
Yeah, I like that from new players that walk in the door. I think straight away, if you're in the starting 11, you're there deservedly. I was really impressed with him last night. I thought he did really well against Forbes. I mean, that was a kid that was obviously at Manchester City. He got a move to Ajax, I think it was, and now he's obviously moved on to Bruges. I mean, he's like a constant threat throughout the game, but I thought he did a really good job stopping him, and I thought his attacking play was exceptional. The amount of times that him and Gassama linked up.
Our goal.
Yeah, I mean, and see, to be honest, mate, you can't really defend that. Because see, as a defender, if you like sort of overstretch or you miscontrol it, you're probably scoring an own goal. So, like from that point of view, it was a great delivery. And see, if Danilo had missed that, I would have probably left. to be honest, because that is as easy a chance as you'll get in football. Centre a goal, like the goalkeeper can't really come out, the defence can't really react to it, ball's in the back of the net. But yeah, really impressive debut for a young kid that obviously hadn't played in Europe before, to step into that atmosphere. To think that at half time he's walked into the dressing room with it, he's probably thought, what the is going on here? You know, we're 3-0 down. The crowd obviously weren't happy at half time. So see, for him to come out and play the way he did, that shows you that he's got a bit of something about him. You know, he's got a bit of character, he's got a bit of mental strength that he can come out and cope in those environments. And I actually thought we played some really good stuff in the second half. Yes, Brugge took their foot off the pedal a wee bit. I think most people can see that. And at 3-0 up away from home, why wouldn't you? You know, like, you don't have to do anything at that point. You don't have to make any unnecessary mistakes.
They well took their foot off the gas at 3-0.
Oh, they did, and that's the thing. But I think the thing that I thought was better in the second half was that we tried to get the ball wide a lot quicker. Like, we tried to get the ball into Antman quicker, try to get the ball into Gassama quicker. And to me, that's got to be something that we do in every game. See, when you've got two wide men that want to take people on, that should be the bare minimum. You know, I mean, let's be honest about it, right? We don't want to see the centre-halves on the ball.
No.
You know what I mean? We don't want the full-backs constantly going from side to side to side. We've got players up the pitch that can hurt the opposition. So let's get them the ball. I thought Gassama's performance last night was absolutely tremendous.
Yeah.
You know, his ability to continually beat the fullback was honestly as good as I've seen from a winger in a long time. That fullback will probably be thinking to himself, that's as tough a game as I've had in a long time, because he never got a minute's peace from Gassama. You know, and his work ethic as well, something that's really impressed me recently, the way that he works back, that he does a lot of tracking, and I love his mentality. You know, I think that's something that we don't talk about enough in football, because see, at the end of the day, look, you can have all the ability in the world, but see, if you don't have that mentality, you'll never get to that next level, or you'll never play at the top level. And to me, when you look at the overall game, I can look at that left-hand side of the pitch and thought, if those guys play like that, most weeks will be a better team for it. You know, and to me, that's a good thing to take away from that game. The negatives are obviously
everything else.
and you can't really hide that. There was a lot of disappointing performances. I thought Diamande had a poor night. I thought Raskan was trying to do everything, as he always does.
And by the way, Raskan, apparently, as the players were coming out for the second half, or as the first half went, Raskan was the one who went and grabbed all the players and gave them a telling off. Again, John Souttar's our captain.
Yeah.
He should be doing that.
Yeah. I'm a big believer that there's always more than one captain on a football pitch, though. I've said that for a long, long time. It should never be about just one player. It should always be about the group, about the squad, about the mentality of each individual player. See, at the end of the day, right, and I've always believed this because it's a strong thing within football. See, when you cross those white lines and you walk onto that pitch and it's 11 on 11, it doesn't really matter what the manager says at that point, because it's down to you, right? Yeah, the manager can set the team up incorrectly and things can go wrong, but see, individual errors, they're the fault of the individuals. And last night, there was just too many of those individual errors that cost us moments within games. And what they were last night was almost clinical in that first 20, 25 minutes. You know, when the chances arose, they took them. Yes, clearly we should do better for the first and the second goal in particular, but you can't take away from the quality they had. And, I mean, let's be honest about it, the second leg could get worse. Because if you go there and we're not strong enough defensively and we don't do all the simple things well, there is no doubt you can get hurt away from home against that standard opposition. I think it was 4 goals they scored against Salzburg. And they're a really good team. Salzburg, they've been in the Champions League group stages now for a number of years. So the fact that they scored 4 goals against them, we're going to have to go and put in a hell of a defensive performance. But then the problem is, right, and what the manager says after the game is actually true, a 2-goal lead can be a dangerous lead. Because see, if Rangers get the first goal, it can change the context of the game. But the reality is, none of us are expecting that. So
No, and I think Russell Martin's got to be very, very careful now with what he says after games.
yeah,
There is no Rangers supporter last night who wanted to hear, I'm proud of my players' efforts in the second half.
yeah,
I've took a lot of positives out of that. We're learning from this and blah, blah, blah. No,
yeah,
in fact, what we wanted to hear last night was nothing. We didn't want him to come out and say a word, but we knew he
yeah,
had to. So what we wanted to hear last night was, I hold my hands up. I got it completely wrong tonight. The players were not on it. They were terrible tonight. I've got a lot to work on. And we're going to go in the training ground and I'm going to try my best to change this. See something along those lines, Willie. That's all
yeah.
we wanted to hear last night. I don't want to hear about how you felt the second half was positive when we've had to sit and watch our team get demolished at home.
Yeah. And it's difficult, isn't it? I think as a manager at times you probably are trying to protect the players, and I get it. I think as I've seen, I think you spoke about this before, aren't you? I mean, I'm not a big fan of press conferences and after match reactions. I just think at times a lot of it's just like the same kind of words on repeat. And whether that's if you want to lose, I think that's the case. Because I remember for like a number of years under Walter Smith, when they did like these kind of post-match things, it was the same questions and the same answers. And you could almost have written down the questions that were going to get asked after the game. And feel like, and it's the same with the pre-match stuff, isn't it? It's the same kind of question after question after question, but it's said in a slightly different way. See, to me, I would rather we just did we're talking on the pitch. That's always been my thought process when it comes to football. But as you've already pointed out, a lot of it's contractual. They've got to do these pre-match things. They've got to do the post-match things. There's reaction on Rangers TV. There's reaction on all these other TV channels that cover the games. I mean, like, I think down where I was in the enclosure, there was about 10 stands up for all these different television companies that were covering the game last night. So you can only imagine how long they must spend actually talking to all these people individually after the match in terms of, and a lot of it must just be like sort of repeat, because what else can you really say after you've performed so poorly for 45 minutes in a game? As you say, he could have come out and tore a strip off the players, but he's already done that. He did that after Motherwell.
Yeah.
So how many times can you do it before the players start to think, oh, wait a minute here, like we're trying our best under your system, we're trying to do things that you're asking us to do. That's the difficulty of football. And then I sometimes think these straight after match reactions are really difficult because you've almost got to like be calm in how you say things and how you word things, because at the end of the day, I think as we've seen over the years as well in football, mate, you can lose a dressing room pretty quickly when you keep coming out and having a go and popping at players, picking out individuals. It's a really difficult one. What I would say to Russell Martin and what I would say to the players, if anybody listens to this, I dare say they don't, but what we want to see is a positive reaction. So the players have to come out on Sunday. It's going to be a really tough game. St Mirren away has never been an easy game for us because they're physical, they're athletic, they're dynamic, they get up and down the pitch, they do a lot of the basics really well.
For 90 minutes. They go for 90 minutes.
Yeah, they do, mate. They're a well-coached football team, a really well-coached team. They've added more physicality over the summer. They've added a bit more athleticism, I would say, to the team. There's a little bit more pace to the team as well. They've got 3 or 4 really good individuals in that team. So see if we don't go and perform for 90 plus minutes on Sunday, the same problem will happen again if the same individuals make the same mistakes. And then after that, you rock up to Brugge away. Do you know what I mean? And then you've also got Celtic at Ibrox. Do you know what I mean? And then,
well, do you know what? I'm going to read you out the next 5 fixtures, right?
Right.
But just before I do that, I want to say a big, massive thank you to AI Taylor, who has joined and became a YouTube member. Thank you very, very much. AI, I'm just going to call you AI. I think that sounds cooler. AI is a member of the Rangers Rabble. I think that's quite cool. Andrew Duncan has also leveled up to the sponsorship tier. It's not flashed up here, so I can't bring it up. But thank you very much, Andrew, for the continued support. And he's also put in a super sticker as well. That's just describing what the super sticker is, by the way, because I don't know what's going on with this, but it's not connected to YouTube properly. But it is a pear character holding his belly, laughing out loud, is what the super sticker on YouTube is. So thank you very, very much, Andrew. And I've also got a comment that I'm going to bring up from a St Mirren fan in a wee second
Right, okay.
as well. Before I do that, but as you were mentioning there, as Lyndon's saying, our next 5 games, Wally, St Mirren away, Bruges away, then Celtic, Hearts and Hibs. In terms of domestic, it doesn't get much more difficult than that.
No, it doesn't. But see, at the end of the day, see if I'm a player, I want to play in those games. I want to show that I'm good enough to win those games. To me, I don't care what football club you support, right? Because it should never matter.
Mm-hmm.
See, when you're watching your team on the pitch, the bare minimum you want is 100% effort. You want nobody should outwork you on a football pitch, no matter what level of the game you play at, right? The bare minimum should be 100% effort, fully committed to every challenge, every header. You don't pull out of any tackles. You do all the basics well. And when it comes to it, if an opportunity arises and it's a good opportunity to score a goal, you take it. It's not rocket science football. I think over the past couple of years, because of like analytics and a lot of the other stuff that you now see, it's been taken to a new level. I mean, see, when I grew up watching Rangers, most teams played 4-4-2. Nobody else knew how to play other than 4-4-2. Like, nobody spoke about 4-2-3-1s and 4-3-3s and 5-4-1s and Christmas tree formations and inverted fullbacks. And I mean, everybody played 4-4-2. Yeah. And it was just whoever had the better, players on the pitch that won the game. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
so
your fullbacks defended. Your 2 wingers tried to get forward to put crosses into the box for the big guy, or your defender launched it up the park for the big guy to knock it onto the wee guy. That was it.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. Like sort of football's took a turn. Whether it's for the better or not, like you could obviously argue this, right? Because there's a lot of people out there now that are involved in football because of the analytics. And see, to me, it's probably took some of the enjoyment out of it a little bit. Like see, when you used to sit in the pub, let's be honest about it, right? Half the time you were half pissed anyway, right? So you were probably talking absolute utter nonsense, right? And yeah, I was standing with my bottle of Bacardi Breezer in the pub getting abuse off all the other guys on the bus, but it was all right. So, like, we would be sitting on 4-4-2 today, right? Who's playing? Haley and McCoist. That was the end of the conversation because that's who played up front. And then, I mean, like, this is how old I am, right? I mean, back in the day, you had like 2 subs. I mean, that's how many subs you had, and one of them didn't even used to be a goalkeeper. It was just 2 outfield players. And like, when you look at it now, you've got about 35 guys sitting in the bench now.
Mm-hmm.
You've got like sports scientists, you've got fitness coaches, you've got set piece coaches, you've got defensive coaches, attack coaches, midfield coaches. I mean, back in the day, it was a manager and the assistant manager. They were the only 2 guys that were part of the backroom staff.
And maybe one other coach.
I mean, football, in a lot of my ways of growing up to what it is now, isn't what I enjoy in terms of that side of it. I still enjoy going to the game. I still enjoy, like going on the supporters bus with my mates and my family, and like you talk about the game, win, lose or draw. And I miss those days to a point because, like, nowadays, like, because of football kick-off times and like sort of working the next day. I mean, I didn't go home until after 11 o'clock last night, and then I'm back up early doors this morning to go to work. So, like, there's no real downtime. Like, you just get home, switch off, sleep, work, back up again and away. Whereas, obviously, when most games were Saturday at 3 o'clock, you could go for a beer before it, you would go for a beer afterwards, you would head back home, you would have your dinner, probably fall asleep on the couch while watching Match of the Day or something. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you then, Willie, is Russell Martin just making everything too complicated in out the football club?
It does feel like it, but I don't necessarily blame him alone because I think it's the way that modern football is. I think now there's so much more to football than what it was before. I mean, I know we spoke about this before, and without kind of going over old ground, like, a lot of times, like, you never knew who Rangers signed until the next day it was in the paper. Because it wasn't really breaking news on like the 5 o'clock news or anything like that. Like, you didn't have like breaking news when Rangers or Celtic signed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? It wasn't on Twitter, it wasn't on Facebook, or for those old enough, maybe Bebo. I loved Bebo back in the day. That was one of my favourite things. But like, so nowadays, like, guys are already in the country now. Like, how much you've paid to buy them. like the salaries are sometimes out there within a couple of days that somebody's already earned like £1 million, and you know it's like I think football is very complicated now, but it really shouldn't be. Because see, as far as I'm concerned, it should be about the players on the pitch. So see, no matter if you're playing a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, it's about how good the players are on the football pitch. And see, as long as they want it as much as the opposition, your quality should always shine through. Mm-hmm. So the rest of the stuff is just like jargon.
Yeah.
And that's just how I see it now. But I'm an old school guy, right? I haven't grown up with analytics. I haven't grown up with all of these like different like sort of terminologies of how we should play. And I mean, like obviously, like the manager goes on about like involving and improving and working. See, at the end of the day, no real supporter really cares about stuff like that, because see, at the end of the day, it is always about winning on a football pitch, regardless of what anybody else says. That is the be all and end all. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't go to a football match to watch your team lose.
No.
I mean, I'm going to watch the Johnston Borough on Saturday playing against Pollock. I want to see the Johnston Borough win. I don't care how they win. I don't care if it's a last-minute header that bounces off the guy's shin and it ends up in the back of the net, because I'll be sitting watching the game and I want the Borough to win. So nothing else matters.
Yeah, 100%, mate. 100%. And I think multiple man, you know, this is talk about Russell Martin's tactics. It clouds minds, and this is obviously in the first goal. But instead of defending first, the two central defenders in Buckland are thinking about what to do in possession before dealing with the danger.
Yeah.
And I think, that just goes to show everything that you were talking about and how everything's just becoming far more complicated and all that. But I do want to ask you, though, Willie, last night, now, for as bad as we were and as for embarrassing as that first half was, at 3-0 down, we do get a goal back. I'm still sitting there going, the tie's done anyway, it's over, that's a consolation goal. We did then put the ball in the back of the net, but it was, for me, rightly ruled out because the keeper had his hands on the ball, right? But should we have had a penalty for the foul on, for what I perceived anyway, to be a foul on Gassama?
It's interesting, when you watch it back, it probably should have been like sent to the screen, really. But obviously up above they decided, and this is the thing within like the context of the game. Now, see, within the stadium, we don't know a lot of times what's actually going on. Because see, at the game, we don't really get told anything other than there's a VAR check up in the screen. You know, we don't see any of the replays. We don't see like what's happened. It's not until you get home or the next day, until maybe you check it online, that you can actually see what's actually happened. For me, yeah, he could have given a penalty, but it felt like it was one of those weird nights that I thought the referee went really quiet for a long period of the game, and then he had that wee burst where I think he booked like 3 Rangers players in about 10 minutes. And I felt like, well, like, you've allowed other things to go within the game, and you've allowed them to, you know, like kick the ball away a few times, and you know, there was a couple of naughty challenges in the match, a couple of like jersey pulls that you allowed to go, and I don't know, it was a weird night. I don't think the referee had a shocking game by any stretch of the imagination, but I just thought he seemed to pick certain things that he was like getting annoyed by, and he would say to the players, and then other times he was just letting things go. I don't know, but yeah, for me, I think if you look at that incident, he certainly could go back and give a penalty. He might argue that he's given, you know, like us the opportunity to keep going. But because we didn't get that opportunity because like the foul was given, why should he not go back and look at it?
Yeah. I don't understand why he wasn't.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, see, within the stadium, a lot of times, I think this is something that needs to change as well, to be honest with you. This isn't like a criticism of the people that are sitting at home watching the game, by the way. But we're the ones that are paying £36 last night, right? But see, within the stadium, you wouldn't know that stuff's going on at times in the VAR room, because we don't get any explanation and we don't get any replay. I mean, even at the game at the weekend against Alba for the penalty, nobody had a clue why it was a penalty. And then all of a sudden, it pops up in the screen, handball check. But see, up until then, we didn't know if it was for the tackle on Cortez, if it was for something that had happened in the lead up to it, if something had happened. You know what I mean? Because we get nothing on the screens in the stadium, and to me, that's something that needs to get looked at. And I don't understand why it's not happening. So like, if you're at home and you're watching the game, you're not actually at the game. See, within seconds, you can see about 10 different replays of the incident. See, inside the stadium, you're just looking at the pitch and waiting for the referee to either go, oh, right, I'm going to the screen to check on that, or it's just play on.
Yeah.
And to me, I don't understand. So the people that are going to the game, that are paying their hard-earned money to go to the game, that are inside the stadium, have no idea what's really going on. But if you stay in the house and watch it on the television, you know exactly what's going on, every second of the game. So see, for all the money that UEFA make and all this money that they keep throwing out there and all this sponsorship, stick it on the screens, or at least have somebody over the tannoy explaining what's actually happened. Or if possible, have the referee explain it.
Yeah. Well, that was a comment that was put in that said the referee should be mic'd up. I don't know how I feel about that, but I mean, it's absolutely.
I mean, if it's just to explain why he's looking at it, see within a couple of seconds, if he's getting it in his earpiece to say, by the way, we're looking at a potential penalty, it might also be handball. So he then comes out, I don't know, maybe he stands in the centre circle or the edge of the pitch, right, and goes, we're checking for a potential penalty. It could be for the foul or the resulting handball. Okay, fair enough. But they went, I think from memory on the screen, it went from saying penalty check to handball. So they'd obviously ruled out what was the tackle on Cortez. But then after that, because the ball's then hit his hand, and because it's hit his hand and the ball was getting into the net, and it's his hand that stopped it rolling into the net, it then moves on to handball. But within the stadium, you've got no clue of this happening. And because VAR is obviously looking at this a lot quicker than what you're seeing at the screen, the referee's nearly already over looking at it on the monitor. And to me, I guess I don't know, I don't understand that side of things. I feel like it could be done a lot better. And given I mean, let's be honest, but the fourth official could even do it, man. Because the fourth official's just standing there talking to the two managers anyway. So it's not like it's that difficult a thing to do. I just feel like I think that UEFA at times don't do a good enough job of making the game what it should be. You know, the money that's in these competitions now is genuinely ludicrous.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And you can't tell me that the people that are actually paying the money to go to these games, 45,000 plus people, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 at other games, you have no idea what's happening because you're inside the stadium, but the people that are sitting at home know exactly what's going on. To me, that is just absolutely crazy. Honestly,
so
it really
it
is.
has always been the case, to be fair, that people at home do know more about what's going on. But I do tend to agree that in terms of if you're bringing in VAR and you're bringing in technology and you're trying to change the game, then if you're going to be bringing in extra stuff, then the people in the stadium need to be brought along with that as well. Absolutely, 100% agree.
Well, especially the fact we've got the two screens, Martin.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because all right, I know every club's not. Yeah, of course. Obviously, every club's not got that, right? But see the ones that's got the screen. Why can't you see the reaction to the penalty? Why can you not see the replay? Because within the stadium, you would have no idea if there was actually a reason to check it. I mean, there's been so many things.
Do you want me to tell you what UEFA's reason would be? If you could see it on the screens, right? There would be a couple of reasons.
It's probably copyright reasons or something like that, isn't it? It'll be something silly.
The first reason would probably be not all stadiums have screens, so it wouldn't be fair on the stadiums that don't, right?
Yeah.
And I guarantee you the second reason would be, well, if we showed it at a home game and it maybe wasn't the decision that the home crowd wanted, the reaction from them might sway the referee. I guarantee you they would go with that.
But to me, that's just utter nonsense, isn't it? I mean, I get what you're saying, and that's probably true, right? Because that's the kind of people that you're now having to deal with, obviously, at these kind of games. Mm-hmm. But I guess, I find that a real frustration in football these days. And see, to be honest, if VAR wasn't a thing again, I wouldn't be that bothered.
Nah, never.
If I'm totally honest, I'm actually almost.
I would be if it was an Old Firm game and we didn't get a clear penalty in a cup final.
Yeah, I get that.
But see, raging at VAR.
Yeah, but see, for years, mate, you loved with those decisions regardless of what happened because you knew there wasn't a system in place to check it.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? No. I mean, we've been to Parkhead. I think it was the night that Lee Wallace had the ball in the back of the net at Parkhead. The ball was actually over the line, but it wasn't given. Rangers lost 1-0. So, when you've left that game that night, you've just accepted that was the result.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just like I'm sure Celtic have decided, it's hard decisions go against them in the Rangers games, and they've at home and they've checked it. But because there was no way of checking it, that was just something you had to accept, because over the course of the season there was errors made.
But
I think the worst one.
That was back in the day, Wally. But when we just went back to the pub and we didn't go straight to social media.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I think the worst one that I seen live was, I think it was Falkirk away. Willie Collum gave a free kick, but the foul was about 5 yards outside the box. But because the guy kept stumbling until he fell in the box,
oh yeah,
he gave the penalty.
Yeah,
But see, at the game, because of where you were in the stands, you couldn't actually tell where he'd been fouled. So see, once you got home, you were sitting on, like, there was contact here, it could have been. But then you see it on, like, sports scene that night, and you're like, how the fuck is he not seen that that's 5 yards outside the box? But, like, you just accepted it because there was no other reason not to, because that was how it was. And I feel like these days there's too much interference in some of the decision making. Now they're starting to look at, like, 7-second clock on the goalkeeper, and that'll result in a corner if he's held the ball for too long. And I feel like they're slowly just, like, killing the game in a lot of ways, to be honest. But I suppose moving forward, because of technology and the way the world is, that's how it's going to be, isn't it?
Because of the money involved in the game as well.
Of course it is.
But listen, we've got a super chat. We've got a super sticker for Yorkie, Scotland. So thank you very much for the super sticker. If you're on YouTube, you'll be able to see that. Thank you very much for the support, Yorkie. And we've also got a comment from Birthday Boy,
right,
Stephen Robertson in Australia. The Ashes are sounding pretty good right now, Martin. You're absolutely right. The Ashes are sounding pretty good right now, Stephen, mate. Honestly. Thank you.
That's so Christmas this year, isn't it, the Ashes?
Yeah. Mate, honestly, I wish I only liked cricket. Honestly. Then my life would be so much easier. Well, I say that as an Australian cricket fan, maybe not quite as easy, but as it used to be. But anyway, final point I want to put to you today, William, and it's from somebody who will possibly be from your neck of the woods.
Right.
From Lawrence Burns. Are you feeling confident going into the St Mirren game? I'm a St Mirren fan and feel confident. Let me tell you right now, William, I do not have any confidence going into Sunday.
Well, see, one of the problems is, right, I live in Paisley, as most people probably know, right? So if we get beat, I get tons of abuse at work. So I'm hoping we actually show up and win the game. You know, in terms of confidence, look, I get confident in every game just because that's the way I've always been. You know what I mean? Like, nothing will ever change me on that front. I mean, Christ, I've been watching the Joes de Borough for years thinking they were good when they were actually utter crap, but I went to every game thinking we were going to win. Don't get me wrong, the several cans of Tennent's lager helped. You know what I mean? Because the longer the game went on, even at 3-0, 4-0 down, you're saying, the comeback's on, guys, we're going to do this. Do you know what I mean? But that, like, it's a football fan's mentality, isn't it? And St Mirren have got every right to feel confident they're a good team. You know, the manager's done an exceptional job. He's got the team well drilled. They know how to play the game properly. As I said earlier, they've got 2 or 3 really good players. I mean, see whether people like it. The boy Phillips in the middle of the park, he's a very, very good midfield player. And he makes them tick. I think the boy Gaugy, the centre-back's always done a good job for them. And also up front, like, they're always physical, they're combative, they're athletic. And if we don't cope with that, I would imagine they'll just absolutely smash the box every time they can. Get the ball in the box. So that'll be the interesting thing on Sunday, if we can cope with that. Because right now you would have to say we don't look as though we will. And it's up to the players that are in the dressing room to look at themselves and get a reaction. Because obviously Giga's not going to play on Sunday.
Which might be a good thing for him.
So whether that's Tav that comes in or it's Fernandes, we'll see. Because I think there's a high likelihood that Aarons doesn't play on Sunday. Because I don't think you can play Aarons against St Mirren. I think it would just be an open door to get absolutely battered at the back post.
Do you think this is the first time in a long time people will be calling for Tav to start, Willie?
Yes. 100%. And that's the reason behind it, mate. Well, that was the thing. Like, look at McGomick went on last night. He's actually a reasonably big lad. You know, he's actually got a good height about him. He's reasonably strong looking. He's obviously very athletic when you watch him getting up and down that side of the pitch. But there's no doubt, the one thing this Rangers team lacks, and I've said it now for a number of years, and it doesn't always come down to football and ability here, we need more big, strong, physical players. Because Scottish football's combative. So you need more players. That's why I think if Asgard can get obviously up to the level of fitness that he requires in the game time, there's no doubt that Asgard should be a good fit for Scottish football because he's 6'2", he's a big strong lad, looks like he's got a good touch, and I'm sure the more he plays the better he'll get. But you're losing one of your biggest, strongest players at centre half in Giga who can attack every ball. Is it right to throw Fernandes in there? Maybe the manager needs to do that. Yes, because unless we sign somebody ahead of Sunday, I think you have to play Tav at fullback. And that is purely because of how St Mirren are going to play and how many times they're going to throw that ball into the box. Because that's the one thing you need to cope with in Scotland. If you play against probably half the teams in this country, if you can't cope with those high cross balls into the box or set pieces, in the main you're going to lose goals. Because these teams are drilled on that. It's probably something they work on many, many times during the week in training. I mean, I think that was a mad stat at the Man United-Arsenal game, wasn't it? That Arsenal have had 31 goals, I think it was, prior to that game, from set pieces in the last 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. That's a phenomenal turnaround. But yet again, they paid, what was it, £500,000 to Brentford to take their set-piece coach. And they're probably paying him £1 million a year in wages.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? No, mate, that's how important that side of the game has become now, that more and more top clubs are employing a set-piece coach to help with defending or attacking set plays. Because it's a speciality now. When you watch every corner, see the amount of block-offs there is, like guys that are running across that way so that the runner gets blocked off and then there's a bit of space for somebody to head the ball. That's a massive part of the game. I mean, even at academy level, you see it now. It shows you how much they're working on these things. So that's something that I think that, possibly as a football club, not just as, the current way it is with Russell Martin and his coaching staff, maybe moving forward, we need to employ a full-time set-piece coach. And that's what his job is, just to work on those, because it is becoming a massive part of football now. And in terms of the academy, we're hoping to do a podcast tomorrow night, all being well, if everything goes to plan. So if any of you guys are not doing nothing, what about 7 tomorrow night, did we say?
7 o'clock tomorrow night.
7 o'clock tomorrow night, Academy Pod. We'll touch on a few things. Martin didn't show up Monday. I don't know what happened to him. But
my missus was in the office and I had to pick away up for school. So.
Fair enough. It was a really good performance, but we'll touch on more of that tomorrow night if you tune in to watch the Academy Pod at 7.
Absolutely. And myself and David Edgar are recording a show to put out tonight. As David's, this doesn't usually happen with David. He's got a bit of a social life now. So he's going to a gig, so we can't do it in our usual 7 p.m. live spot. So it will be pre-recorded, but it will be put out tonight at 7 p.m. That is the Martin and David and Martin show. Long title, but you all get it. Wally, mate, I enjoyed that, mate. Thank you very much.
No, it's always good to chat football. Sometimes it's not always the most positive thing in the world, but you know what? It's always good. Thanks to everybody that's obviously tuned in to listen to us. I hope my dulcet tones didn't bore you all too much.
You terrified them all with the shots talk at the start, Wally.
Do you know what?
No, don't do it.
No, I'm not going to say it.
Don't do it. Just don't do it, right? Don't do it.
I thought you would tell me off, so I thought I better know. But honestly, thanks for tuning in. It's been good. I've enjoyed obviously chatting about the game, and actually, if any of you on the do it tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, it'll be me and the big man again talking about the academy. Honestly, if anybody's got any questions as well they want to ask, stick them in the comments. I can maybe pick, or Martin can pick them out, and we can obviously answer them tomorrow night. I can kind of try and find out if there's anything people want to know about the players in the 19 squad, the players in the 17s, players selected for Scotland duty, maybe some more incoming signings, etc. Just stuff like that. If anybody's got any questions, file them in the comments. Martin can forward them on to me and I can obviously answer them on the pod tomorrow night.
Yes, absolutely. What I'll do is I'll put out a post on our community page on YouTube for the Academy show asking you for your questions. Hopefully we can get a few in before the show starts, and then we can get a few in on the show as well. Folks, please do remember to like, share and subscribe if you enjoy the show. Follow us across all socials as well. Like I say, we'll be back tonight with a recorded show of myself and Mr. David Edgar. The Martin and David and Martin show. I'll be back with you tonight at 7. I actually can't remember if we've got any other shows on the day. See, the problem is we do about 17,000 shows a week. So my mind's actually currently went blank on if we have anything else coming out tonight. If there is, I will put it on the community pages. It's really shocking that I own and run a podcast and can't remember if I've got a show coming out later on tonight. But anyway, if there is, I'll put it out.
You should get a wee board up in the background with all the times of the pods that day, and then you know they're there.
I absolutely should. And that is something that I will think about. Like I say, happy birthday to Stephen Robertson and Timothy Sharp. Timothy celebrating his 60th birthday today. Congratulations to you, Tim. And also congratulations to Stephen Robertson, who's celebrating his 55th birthday today.
Fantastic. Fair play.
Two good numbers. It's not actually their ages, but I just thought I'd put that out there. Right, folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Like I say, we'll be back tonight at 7 p.m. with a lovely wee recorded show of the two best looking guys in Rangers media. It has to be said, I think.
What about me?
Myself. Wait till we see you in your shorts, and then we can judge.
So what I'll do, I'll put a pair of shorts on. I'll send you the picture. You can put it on the members thing, right?
I don't want my missus to see it, just in case she gets jealous. Right,
yeah, she still owes me money to that pie, by the way, Dumbarton about 2 years ago. I gave her a tenner for 2 pies, and I never get any change. But I'm going to speak to her the next time I see her.
So
you can let her know I've not forgot about
that. You don't. I know you don't forget about 4 pence. Never mind.
Here, I'm a Johnston boy. Us Johnston boys remember every penny that we pass out to people. That's why we don't forget.
That's very true. That's why I was there at the game on Monday. Right, folks, enjoy the rest of your day, and we shall speak very, very soon.